Greetings, travelers of the fog. Welcome back to the library and to our exploration of every killer in Dead by Daylight. Pull up a chair to the fire, grab a snack as we continue our journey into the archives of the realm, with today's journey being to understand the Trapper, the very first killer who was released on June 14th, 2016 with the launch of Dead by Daylight. Due to being released at the start, Trapper is typically associated as the icon of the entire game itself. As I mentioned in the last video, much of the lore for the killers is extremely vague or lacks details. It's even possible that it retcons itself as time progresses and behavior changes pieces of their stories. Today's video was formed by reading the tomes, map offerings, the killer description, add-ons, and various other pieces of in-game information to ultimately form a cohesive narrative and lore for the Trapper. If the lore isn't your jam and you're here just for the gameplay, there are timestamps in the description below. Feel free to skip around to whatever it is you want to watch. Also, wait guys, before we hop into today's video, I would like to once again thank today's sponsor, Manta Sleep. Guys, I cannot stress how great Manta Sleep is. My girlfriend Juliet and I have been using their products the last few months and have loved them. Juliet especially. She typically needs to fall asleep to sound like a YouTube video or a TV show, something I'm sure many of you can relate to. We watch YouTube on our Xbox, which automatically turns off at night, so she'll end up waking up and staying awake the rest of the night.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no.
Thankfully, this was where Manta Sleep sound sleep mask stepped in, allowing Juliet to not only fall asleep super easily thanks to the 100% blackout of the mask, but stay asleep with the sleep mask's ultra-thin Bluetooth headphones. To fall asleep, she can just turn on one of her favorite YouTubers with the mask playing in her ears and conk out for a good 8 hours, waking up super refreshed and not having to worry anymore about waking up to the room dead silent at 3 a.m. Not only that, the quality material allows for good airflow and ventilation, so it doesn't lead to any awkward nightly sweating, and it can be adjusted super easily to fit her head or my massive noggin. If you head to their website right now, they're having their Green Monday sale where site-wide is 15% off, which lasts from December 8th to the 15th. And if you order before the 12th, they'll throw in a free mystery sleep kit. If you happen to visit them any other time or watch this video way later, you can use code Mr. Hunteru for 10% off any purchases. Thank you again, Manta Sleep, for sponsoring this video, and back to the video. Throughout the last few years of video creation, I've learned that warnings are very helpful to some people. Because of this, each of these stories I'll cover will have some trigger warnings at the beginning since I'd rather people know what they're getting into. This story contains violence and abuse, child neglect, discussion of animal death, suffocation, and various descriptions and depictions of violent acts. If any of these are uncomforting to you, I suggest you move forward farther into the video. Again, as mentioned in the last video, each of these was approached with a different mindset regarding the lore. For the Trapper, this is going to be read to you as more of a factual retelling, almost as if we could read it straight from the Orus. It's time to begin our little campfire story. Over the years, we've come to know that before he was the Trapper, he was Evan Macmillan. During the 1930s in Seattle, a young Evan Macmillan would help his father Archie maintain the Macmillan estate, a large plot of land that focused on mining as well as casting and melting metals mined through its foundry. Archie's business was extremely prosperous, however his business practices could be anything but generous. In fact, it was very common for any worker on the estate to, quote, slip away from all kinds of normal life. They were met with inhumane working conditions, extremely harsh hours, which combined meant they could never go home to see their families. On top of the horrible work environment, Archie viewed his workers as literal maggots or pests, often beating them with brutal strength. However, young Evan was not like his father. He did not agree at all with his father's practices, especially the violence he would enact. Instead, he viewed all of the estate's workers as people. Evan would even go out of his way to become friends with a few of the workers. Their names Bob, Tom, and Jim. While it gave these three workers some peace of mind that they may be treated better on the estate, and maybe even see their families again, being friends with them lit up Evan's whole world because prior to these three, he had never really had friends before. One day, while visiting with the three in the mine, he finds out that all of the estate's workers are planning to group together and form a union, a practice that became very popular between the 30s and 40s in America, especially after the National Labor Relations Act passed in 1935. This meant that if they all worked together as one and demanded the same things as one, then they'd have the ability to bring work on the estate to a full halt and use that as leverage to get what they wanted. They, of course, wanted to not only be respected as human beings, but to be able to leave the estate to visit home, to see their families. The thought of a union excited Evan. He wanted his friends to live a good life. He gave them his blessing as he started to head back to the main house. While he did wholeheartedly respect their ambition to strive for better conditions, he also heavily envied what they were doing. He could never in a million years see himself stand up to his father. He wanted to. He had always wanted to, especially for his mother. But no matter what, he knew his father would always win. The last time he even tried to get close to standing up, his father broke his jaw. As he stepped outside the mines, he felt a random sharp pain in his jaw that sent him hurtling towards the ground. It was his father. Before he could collect himself and stand up, his father started to assault him with a flurry of punches. Archie tells him not to be so kind with the maggots, as he's very aware Evan sympathizes with them. "It's a sign of weakness," he says with a punch. "They're just using you," he proclaims with another punch. Evan, wanting so badly to channel the ambition of his friends, decided not to out of fear of having another bone in his body broken. Once his father had felt satisfied with his beating, he left Evan to get up on his own, laying in his own blood. Later, after cleaning his wounds and finding some ice for his bruises, Evan decided to once again channel his frustrations into art, something he'd found himself doing a lot lately. After all, he believed if you can't say it, you can at least make it. Sometimes he would tinker and make things. Other times he would make drawings, although he could never let his father find out that he made anything artistic at all. He knew that if he was caught, he would be called weak and beaten again. Any sign of his mother that Archie saw in Evan, whether it was compassion, art, or even a lick of something that could be unmasculine, he would try to beat it out of him. Even though he was in a happy place making artwork, the thought of his father's presence unnerved him and gave him chills. Nothing was exempt from Archie's abusive approach. His work and employees, his son, and Evan assumed his mom too. He would have to sit by idly as he yelled, screamed, and hit her. Now, his mom wasn't in the picture anymore. She died in a drowning accident one morning. He couldn't help but feel that if he were stronger, or if he had done anything at all, then she would still be there with him. Many times the thought would creep into Evan's mind that he was never sure if what happened to her was an accident or not. Evan really loved and admired his mom, so much so that a year prior to this story taking place, he nearly killed a man with a 2x4 just for insulting her, yet he couldn't stand up against his father for her. Why? Why couldn't he do it? He didn't like to think about that, so he tried to push it to the back of his mind as he let his pencil cleanse his emotions. A day or so passes, and Evan would find himself reluctantly placing a bear trap on their estate. You see, Archie was a big fan of bear hunting, and so he would bring Evan along with him not too long after noticing acts of compassion. He had hoped that trapping an animal or a person would crush whatever compassion was left in Evan's heart and any trace of his mother left in him. Hunting was typically seen as a very masculine sport, after all. Evan, as you can imagine, never cared much for hunting, especially since one time when he was younger, Evan actually got lost in the woods during one of their hunting escapades. He got an earful from his father. It was back when he was less violent. Over the years, hunting became less and less appealing to him. He much preferred sketching and crafting. "Evan, my boy," Archie stated, "did I ever tell you that time I came face to face with a grizzly?" "Yes," Evan thought to himself. Every time they would set traps or go hunting together, Archie would always tell him about the time he went hunting with his uncle, where a grizzly bear decapitated him. His father claims to have killed the bear to retrieve his brother's head, but Evan never completely believes this story, as details of it change every time it's told. When he was alive, his uncle was a philanthropist with a bleeding heart. If something were to happen to Archie, his uncle would take over the Macmillan estate and the whole business. His father would always say terrible things about his uncle and his excessive need to help people. Archie knew Evan's uncle would potentially run the business into the ground if he were to ever take over. Much like with what happened with his mother, Evan catches himself wondering if there ever was actually a bear, that his father was likely the one who killed him. Later, Evan joins his father in the mines, forced to stand back and watch as he berates a miner that has fallen ill and just wants to go home. His father wouldn't listen to the man's pleas. "If you leave, you'll never work here again," he said with a punch, knocking the man to the ground. The man collapses, hardly able to move from all the soot in his lungs and the lack of sleep. He's clearly in agony, and possibly not far off from death, but his father doesn't care. He kicks the miner in the gut. Evan couldn't help but squirm at the sight of it all. He wished he could put the poor miner out of his misery. Kill him, Evan thought to himself. Just kill him, please. He felt his blood begin to boil, although he couldn't quite tell who his anger was focused at. Was it at his father for hurting this miner, or was it at the miner for not being able to fight back against his father? He wanted these men to be better off, right? Or did he just want to see his father lose? Now, from me to you, travelers, this thought train of Evan's and his lore appears to be a key turning point for him. Never before in his lore or his thoughts did he seem to want to harm any of the miners or wish death on them. Yet here, as he watched his father beat this man, he wanted one of them, or both of them, to die. This could be because he is his father's son. Surely he has cruelty in his heart, right? Or, and the more likely answer here, is the entity has begun to influence Evan, as the entity is thought to have contorted emotions and decisions to lead those right into its grasp. He has cared deeply for these workers, and hates his father's treatment towards others. Evan feeling this urge to put the miner out of his misery means the entity has begun its manipulation, and it will be all downhill for him from here. Back to the story. Later, Evan is in his room, looking to make something again. He begins to sketch, letting his mind guide his hands. He cannot shake the thought of the miner being beaten by his father in his head. In fact, he finds himself inspired like never before by the thought of it. Once he finds himself satisfied with his creation, he holds it up to admire his piece. It was a sketch of his father, wearing a bear suit, killing his uncle. Seeing the drawing made him feel a tingly, cold sensation that he had never felt before, one that he quite liked. With the drawing in his hand, he goes for what he believes to just be a blinking of his eyes. But when they open again, he finds himself standing over his father's bed as he sleeps, a stone in hand. The image of his father beating the miner plays in his mind. Evan stares at him. He wants to be free. He wants the miner to be free. He wants to avenge his mother and uncle. With the smooth, cold stone in his hand, he has the power to do all of it. All he needs to do is get one good, clean hit right into his father's skull. He walks to stand next to him, lifting up the stone and clenching his breath. He decides to take one look at his father before striking the stone down, but to Evan's surprise, he looks so peaceful. This same screaming, violent man looked so kind in his sleep. Lowering the stone, Evan hoped that maybe if he spared him, that this peacefulness could translate into tomorrow. He knows this will never happen, but he can't help it. His heart is just too big. Even though he hates his father and wants him to die so badly, he is still his father, and he loves him. Regretfully, he clenches the stone and walks away, leaving the demon to his demons. Some days later, he would find himself sketching his father in a bear suit again. For some reason, this look suited his father in Evan's mind, stuck in the very beast he brags he killed so many times. This time, he's drawn his father drowning his mother. Making this piece brought him some peace of mind. He knew he killed her. He just knew it. With this drawing, he could finally feel that it was real, that it did happen. After staring at it long enough, the sight of the drawing brought him to tears. He couldn't believe she was gone. He moves to the bathroom quickly, feeling sick to his stomach. He couldn't believe he followed the commands of the person who killed her every single day. Evan feels so much disgust and hatred for himself brewing deep within him. He wants to stop being obedient to his father. He stands in the bathroom, looking at himself. His father calls the miners maggots, but he's the real maggot, spineless, just like a pest. He always has been. Evan flings his hand forward, breaking the mirror. He finds himself grabbing one of his drawings. Evan has decided to show his art off to Bob, Tom, and Jim, and they all would tell him how wonderful of an artist he was. Feeling triumphant, he hopes to help them in their unionization and leaves to go eat dinner at the main house. While they ate, his father stared at him, stared into his soul. Evan knew quickly that he wasn't doing a good job of hiding secrets, that his father would find out what he was hiding, whether it be the drawing or the union, but he wasn't sure which one, or if he'd find out both. "Son, do you remember the time you beat that man with a plank of wood?" he said between smacks of his food. Evan remembered. It was when the man insulted his mom. "I was real proud of you that day." Those words made him feel sick to his stomach, immediately setting his food down. "Why?" Evan murmured. "Because it showed me that unlike your uncle, I'd never need to worry if you take over this business. You're a chip off the old block." He kept smacking, with a wide smirk on his mouth, as he went for another spoonful. "I was protecting Mom's image." "What's that?" "Speak up, boy. Can't hear you from way over here." Archie continued to stare as he gulped some water. "I was protecting Mom's image," Evan proclaimed. His father looked blankly at him before beginning to laugh, almost choking on his food. As he began to speak, his tone gave Evan chills immediately. "No, boy. That's just not true. I saw you doing it. You enjoyed beating that man. Evan found himself unable to look at his father any longer, tilting his head down. You wanted to feel powerful. Before his father could even finish, Evan stood up, slamming his silverware down. He then left the room in a hurry, with Archie's laugh echoing through the halls, bouncing off the inside of his mind and well into his dreams. A few days would pass, and Evan returned home from the mines to clear his mind. Walking up the stairs, he planned to sketch in his room, only to find his drawings torn to pieces when he walked through the door. Scanning the room, it was clear his father had found all his artworks, and none had survived. He knelt down and began to clean up the mess, and in the wreckage he traced with his fingertips a drawing, still intact. Lifting it up, he once again felt very sick to his stomach. The one drawing that survived was Evan's sketch of his dad killing his mom. He heard a creak at the door and turned around to face his father. Archie stood in the doorway, looming over him. Evan braced himself, ready to be beaten to a pulp, but he was ready for a beating that didn't come. A union, eh? Evan felt his mouth gape. Archie's mouth contorted into a smile. A sweet thought, ain't it? Too bad nothing like that will ever happen for the maggots. Evan felt an absurd amount of emotion flow through him as the sketch in his hand began to crumble. How did you know about all of this? He looked around at his drawings. Your little miner buddies told me all about it real quick when I offered them a few dollars. I told you, he ain't good for anything. Immediately, Evan knew that Jim, Tom, and Bob went behind his back. He felt so confused. Even though he was hiding their plan to unionize, hell, he was even supporting them, and he cherished their friendship, they sold him out days after finding about his drawings for a few dollars? Archie walked towards Evan, taking the drawing from him and flattening it out. Now, wouldn't want to crumble up this here masterpiece. His father left the room, unsure of what would happen next. Evan followed behind him, on edge, that he could be beaten at any moment. The two went to his father's bedroom. His father grabbed a hammer and nail, hopping on the bed, nudging his way to the middle of the bed, where he then hammered the drawing of his mom being drowned right above his bed frame. He knew in that moment that his father was seeing the drawings as him winning. He had crushed the compassion within Evan. He also knew that by hanging it up there, that his father was admitting to killing his mom. His father turned around on the bed, aiming the hammer at Evan. Tomorrow, boy, he said with a wide grin, you'll learn a lesson, one that I hope you'll understand. Now get out of here. Unable to say anything, Evan tilted his head and stormed out of the room. Looking at his pile of ripped drawings and destroyed crafts, he is filled with agitation. Evan found himself filled with such hatred. How could his friends do this to him? No, wait. They weren't his friends. They were maggots. They really were maggots after all. Drawing wouldn't help him right now. He needed to harm the maggots who betrayed him. His father was right all along. They didn't care about Evan at all outside of getting his help for the Union. For the first time ever, he feels himself kind of admiring his father. From me to you, travelers, it's very likely that this isn't the truth. The miners selling out Evan, I mean. Archie has always seemed to be trying to crush this little bit of his mother in Evan's heart through any means necessary. While we don't know much about their characterizations, I'm sure instead of being bribed by money that Bob, Tom, and Jim were instead threatened by Archie to fess up about what Evan had been hiding, or else they would lose their jobs. Or, worse, be beaten to death. However, Evan never once considered this, and instead believed his father entirely, meaning in the end that his father did win after all. From that day forward, Evan became his father's enforcer, idolizing him and how he ran his business. They would build fences along the estate's property line, allowing no one in or out of its premises. While they had very little access to the outside world before, the miners now had completely lost their connection to the outside world. At some point after taking over, Evan would take his love for crafts and forge a cleaver from metals harvested at the estate. It's not known exactly what this was used for, but given he wanted to put one of the workers out of his misery some time ago, one can assume this cleaver was used for nothing good. Despite how smoothly things seemed to be moving for them, a letter appeared in their mail one day from the National Labor Relations Board, signed to Archie Macmillan. Evan rushed the letter inside to read with his father. The letter detailed how word had spread, somehow, to the outside world about the awful practices on the estate. Archie and Evan were to appear in a court of law where they would be tried by the city of Seattle to help the miners, give them better wages, and compensate all of their families. The Macmillan estate and all of their wealth would be taken, and they would be going to jail if found guilty. While initially freaked out, the two formed a plan for their newfound situation. On that ever so fateful day, Evan led their over 100 miners into the tunnels of the estate. While the miners saw this as a normal occurrence on the estate, this moment would be the first part of the two's plan. Once in the tunnels, Evan would leave and Archie would blow the mines, killing all the miners, so that the two could rid themselves of their maggots, fleeing with their wealth, and escaping from the United States judicial system. Once in the mines, Evan beckoned them all to get to work. He turned around, ready to calmly leave as the place exploded, but as he was about to leave the mines, the explosives detonated. With him still in there, the entire place came crumbling to the ground as various screams started, but never finished. Despite briefly passing out, miraculously, he survived, although he was scarred, covered in ash, shrapnel, and burn marks, not to mention his right leg was badly injured in the blast. Around him were bodies for as far as he could see, and he couldn't see very well, so he wondered just how many bodies there actually were. He was horrified with himself. What had he done? Even though he wanted so badly to stand up to his father, he had unintentionally become his lapdog. He thought back to his mother. He had lost the one gift she had left him with still, his compassion. He couldn't believe it. Then it settled in what had just happened. His father had set him up and tried to kill him just like he'd done to his uncle and mother. He felt an unbridled anger, desiring to finally get revenge for them. Using his cleaver, he began to slam away at the walls, separating him from the outside. Surprisingly, he managed to break through very quickly. Once on the other side, he crafts a split for his leg using belts. With his cleaver in hand and his leg tended to, Evan works his way to the house to find his father. The house appears to be empty. No one is in the kitchen. No one is in Evan's bedroom. Evan walks into his father's room, finding the hammer he used to nail the drawing up to the wall. He grabs the hammer and takes down the drawing, then leaves the room. Evan finds his father in the basement of their warehouse. Not realizing Evan is coming down the stairs, Archie hums to himself as he stuffs loads of money into several briefcases. His victory celebration is quickly ruined by Evan as he takes the hammer and slams it into one leg, knocking him immediately to the ground. As his father yelped in pain, Evan didn't waste a second and slammed the hammer again and again into his legs until every bone appeared broken in them. Ready to go for the kill, Evan raises his hammer. "Evan, please, no, don't." His father stares up at him, looking at him almost the same way he looked when he was asleep. "You wouldn't do this to your good old man, would you? We can get out of here and live luxuriously." Although he wanted so badly to avenge his mother and uncle, he finds himself again unable to kill his father. Even though his father tried so hard to stop the compassion out of him, it was that same compassion that was going to spare his life. With both of his legs broken, Evan decides instead to leave him in here. He can't run. He'll take his time to call the police, let them deal with his father. Then, his mom and uncle would be avenged, just not by his hands. He breathed a sigh of relief. He had finally stood up for himself. Evan took one good, last look at his drawing. Then, he dropped the drawing close to his father, hoping that with his time down here, he would be able to reflect on what he had done, and maybe, just maybe, feel an ounce of regret for what he had done. "Evan, wait!" His father began to pull his body across the basement floor. Evan walked to the door, closed it, and locked the door from the outside. His father began to pound on the door tirelessly, but he didn't care. Evan was ready for a little break, to be free. Evan turned and began to ascend the staircase out of the basement, only for a large fog to quickly obscure his view. He wasn't sure where it came from, but it felt like it was coming from everywhere all at once. Despite having just left him for dead, Evan turns around to go back and help his father, screaming into the fog, but he hears nothing, not even his own voice. As he reaches the bottom of the staircase, the fog begins to clear, and he finds himself in a basement, but not his basement. Across the walls are rickety wooden planks, blood coating them and dripping from the ceiling. As he looks around, he notices at the center of the room a structure. It's gigantic, going nearly to the ceiling and covered in meat hooks. He found himself staring at it. He couldn't look away. Deep within him, something urged him. These were somehow his hooks. He felt he should go up to them, touch them, but quickly, the thought of it all dissipated because it was making him sick. He didn't want to kill anything ever again. "Dad?" he asks to the basement, with only his echoes replying to him. He starts up the staircase, deciding to leave this hellish place, but to his shock, at the top of the staircase he finds a place completely barren. The estate was gone. The mines were gone. No matter which direction he looked, all he could see for miles were rocks and the same fog from the basement. Unsure where to go, He picked a direction and just decided to walk that way, hoping to find something. This whole ordeal took him back to that time he got lost when he was younger, worried he'd hear an earful from his dad again. Wherever he was, Evan hoped he was okay. He never meant for this to happen. The thought of that cursed basement keeps pushing its way into his mind, and those hooks, they reminded him of the very cold, tingly feeling he got when he made the first drawing of his father in the bear suit. He liked that feeling. He remembered that, but he didn't want to go bathe himself with that feeling now. His train of thought ended immediately as a rush of pain shot up his leg, the same one he'd injured earlier at the mines. He collapses, looking down to see the source. Somehow, he had walked into one of his father's bear traps. He looks around, calling out for help, but once again, completely unable to hear his own voice. Evan manages to pry open the trap, releasing his leg. Blood gushes helplessly from the wound. He looks around again, hoping to see someone, anyone, but it's only him in the fog. He picks up the bear trap and hugs it. As much pain as it has brought him, it is the only familiar thing in this place. He hated hunting with his father, but he would rather be doing that than being here. He never thought he would feel this, but he missed his father. The pain is just too much for him, and he falls to the ground as everything goes dark. After an unknown amount of time, he reawakens, grabbing at his leg. It's dry. In fact, there is no wound at all. He can still clearly feel the pain, but his skin was undamaged. He looks around with quick breaths, only to realize he is once again in that basement. His father's bear trap beside him. He didn't dream what happened. It was real. He can't see anything in the room that he hadn't before. But he knows this time that he is not alone. Something is in that room with him. Something that he can't see. But something he can feel. "What do you want from me?" he whimpers. Nothing responds. Evan barely manages to get himself off the ground. The pain in his leg is overwhelming, but he does get up. With a limp in his step, he moves to the stairs. He stares up at his way out. In his mind, something is telling him not to ascend the stairs, but he doesn't want to listen to that. Not again. He won't be a maggot. He won't be obedient or a lapdog. He's a man. He's his own person, and he's free. He begins to start up the stairs. A pain much like the one in his leg quickly dug into his shoulders. He looks at it, noticing chains and hooks poking out of his arm. Somehow, he had not noticed the basement was full of hooks dangling from the ceiling. Unlike with the bear trap, he will not scream this time. He will not feed whatever is watching him. He removes the chain, keeping the hook in his arm and continuing up. Another hook. He removes it. Then another hook. He removes that one too. Hook after hook appears during his ascension, trying to hold him back. As painful as they are, he tries his best to reach the top. There is no light at the top of the stairs. There's no hope. He's not sure why he fights on, but after all that has happened, he does not want to be trapped again by someone or something. He wants to be free. With blood seeping out of nearly every pore of his body, he finds himself at the top of the staircase. He breathes heavily, triumphantly, only for him to quickly lose his breath as things go black again. He's falling unconscious. He doesn't want to, but something is making him fall. Evan is back in the basement. He doesn't know how much time has passed, only that he has been there a long time. He doesn't find himself needing to sleep, nor needing to eat. His father's bear trap is still with him. The structure in the middle continues to plague his mind, as if calling to him, begging to him. After so long in this cold, dark room, he decides, why not? I will answer it. He picks up his father's bear trap, stands up, and begins to limp over to it. He holds his hand out to it, closing his eyes. It's cold. Metallic. What had it been trying to say to him? Immediately, Evan finds himself in a memory not his own. It is night, the moon making its presence known across a forest. One that he recognized. It was a spot his father loved to go to. The person this memory was following moves to a man in a bear trap. "Archie, get me out of here. Please." That voice. It was Evan's uncle, trapped in the bear trap. The memory was coming from his father. "Roland, what have you gotten yourself into?" Archie chuckled to himself, the laugh and the voice feeling as if they were coming from Evan's chest, as if he were his father. "Please, brother, please let me out." His uncle begged as he crawled to Archie's shoes, him taking a step back, wrinkling his brow in disgust. Weak. Pathetic. Absolutely disgusting. Maggots. He felt his father begin to lift his arm, He was holding a meat cleaver. Can't even hunt a damn bear right. Archie began to swing, but Evan didn't see the end of it. He gasped as he returned to his own body. It all felt so real. The light of the moon, the evening frost of the woods, and the hate. The hate his father felt for Roland. After all these years, he knew for sure his father had killed his uncle. Evan began to re-examine the meat hooks in front of him. They were not out to get him, and they didn't take Evan from Archie. They saved him. The police were never going to come in. His father surely would have gotten out, and when he had escaped that basement, he would have killed Evan too. Now, he never had to worry about being hit again, or being judged by his father. This was the freedom he had wanted all along. In this place, in this room, he felt the presence watching him again, but still, he could not see it. He asks again, earnestly this time, "What do you want from me?" All he could hear from the top of the stairs was an animalistic growl in response. From me to you, travelers, he wasn't in Seattle anymore. He found himself in the realm. Just like with his father, it was a fight he was never going to win. Just like his father managed to sway him before, he has once again fallen for a trick. And, just like with his father, despite not wanting to kill anyone, he is going to kill for somebody again. The little bit of compassion Evan had left has been crushed. The entity has recreated the Macmillan estate from his memories so that he can have a place he called home all these years to himself, free of his father. He was safe, but in turn, Evan Macmillan's compassion leaves once and for all, as his humanity disappears, becoming the Trapper. Whew. That was a lot, wasn't it? I'd like to do a quick little post-mortem session for the lore before we move on to the rest of the video. I tried to use as much as I could from the tomes, but they were contradicted by many parts of pre-existing lore for him, like this map offering for the Macmillan estate, his add-ons and his weapons. For example, the map offering states that he was extremely cruel and led one of the most brutal massacres in human history, yet in his lore, not only is that not mentioned at all, but it doesn't make sense with how the lore presents him there. Another inconsistency is that his father was found with both of his legs broken, yet in the original tome there is no mention at all about what happens after Archie tells his friends. Instead we go from him admiring his father, where he hangs up his drawings, to him suddenly committing one of the biggest acts of mass murder in human history, and his dad's in the basement with his legs broken. So I had to try to connect those parts. A big reason for the inconsistencies in the lore is that Archie didn't exist prior to the release of the first tome, so naturally a lot needed to be changed and shifted now that he was in the picture. To make matters even more funky, a lot of the story was written last year that you all just listened to, and in September of 2025, which was just a month or two ago, behavior surprised us all with the release of Tome 23. Cradle and Grave, which actually showcased the end to Evan's story, and is the first time we ever get to see what happens after somebody has been taken by the entity, at least to my knowledge. This game is a surprise to many, as it was nearly 6 years after Tome 1 and the first part of Evan's lore, so I had to rearrange some things as well as add on to that to make Evan's lore complete. Although I will say, one thing that doesn't add up between Tome 1 and Tome 23 is Evan's admiration. In the last memory of Tome 1, it is cited that Evan has formed an admiration for his father and his work. Yet, in Tome 23, it tries to show us that never happened, and he was unhappy working alongside him, even not knowing at all about his father blowing the place up. While this could make sense, and Evan could be framed for the mine explosion, we know Evan became his father's enforcer from Tome 1, and I think it makes more sense narratively that he did actually admire his father and want to help him. He is a kind, sweet person, but he is very prone to aggression. Despite his desire to not be obedient and to be his own person, he is incredibly naive, hence why he is won over by 2 separate people in 2 different instances in the story. Plus, it would make sense that he was in the cave when it exploded, as it explains why he has so many disaster-related injuries and marks on his body, whether it's burns or ash stains. There were also some unanswered parts regarding Trapper's appearance. We know the hooks on his skin were because the entity tortured him for disobeying commands, but we didn't know where the ash and burns came from, and especially no explanation for the slight limp he has and the wires or cast he appears to wear on his leg. Of course, Tome 23 maybe gives us an explanation for why he has a little bit of a limp, but I didn't really buy it enough. So I did my best to combine all of those into one narrative, and things are likely going to continue to change in the future now that we see that they've updated his lore, and Archie was featured in the casting of Frank Stone on a portrait. Who knows what future updates to the lore could entail, but for now, I think this is probably the most accurate depiction of the events we can get, combining everything together and trying to ignore retconning. I've mentioned it many times before, but each video is going to be presented to you differently. So please comment down below your thoughts. What did you like? What didn't you like? Would sound effects be nice? Would you like some music? Maybe some changes in my narration? Your input will help shape the series into something wonderful, and I'm just so excited to see what you all will have to say. Keep in mind also, I've said it before and I'll say it again, one thing that is definitely predetermined is that the nurse video has a cast of voice actors that I'm very excited to show all of you. Now, let's hop into the Trapper's kit. Enough of my yapping. Trapper's weapon of choice is the cleaver he made back at the Macmillan estate, which he can use to hit survivors that may cross his path. His killer power is bear traps. This power was gifted to him by the entity for one of two reasons. The first, to create strong emotions in him, forcibly making him remember about his father and how he is continuing to be obedient to yet another figure. Or the second, to reclaim something he hated. The Trapper enters a trial by default with 2 traps on his person. Throughout the map are 8 disarmed bear traps spawned in random locations. If a surface you're standing on is level, your HUD will pop up a visual marker stating that you can set a trap. Doing so will then place the trap right at your feet, arming it for any unlucky survivor that happens to cross its path. Placing a trap gives the Trapper haste for 5 seconds, a status effect in Dead by Daylight which makes him move faster than normal. You can tell when you have haste when this icon appears on the right of your screen. Armed traps and unarmed traps are highlighted white, while also being visible through walls and floors, meaning the Trapper can see them at any given time. The Trapper has the ability to rearm traps that are on the ground, like the 8 that spawn throughout the map, or if he happens to not like where it is, he can pick up the trap by pressing the spacebar. Trapper can carry a maximum of 2 traps at a time. When a survivor happens to walk into a trap, they will become injured and a loud noise indicator will play, highlighting the survivor through walls. A survivor cannot move when trapped and has to struggle to escape, which could take some time, allowing the Trapper to get over to them and capture his prey. You can either right-click a survivor with your weapon to put them into the dying state immediately, or you can push the spacebar to pick them up. Be careful though, as the Trapper is not immune to getting caught by his own bear traps. If you were to walk in one of your traps while carrying a survivor, it will stun you and you will drop them, letting them run free. The entity has blessed Trapper though, as even if his bear traps catch him, much like in the lore, they never truly will harm him. On the survivor side, to counteract being trapped, they can disarm traps so they may run by without getting caught, which will also trigger a loud noise notification for the Trapper. If a survivor is caught in a trap, that trap will become disarmed and you will need to go back to it and reactivate it. Survivors can also help other survivors get out of bear traps, so you gotta be careful for that as well. Your bear traps are the bread and butter of playing the Trapper, so familiarizing yourself with good locations to place them will give you the edge on any group of survivors. Because of this, despite being labeled as easy in Dead by Daylight, he can prove to be quite difficult. But with practice and thought, no survivor will be able to escape your thoughtful planning. Every killer in Dead by Daylight receives 3 unique perks. As I mentioned in the last video, perks are things a player can bring into a trial to give their killer special abilities they would not have otherwise. The first perk for the Trapper is Agitation, likely referring to many of the feelings he would get back at the Macmillan estate. This perk allows a killer to move faster while carrying a survivor, but also increases the range of your terror radius. At max level for this perk, you will move 18% faster. Here is what you look like at a normal carrying speed, and here is what you look like with Agitation. This will allow you to easily maneuver to hooks on the map that you might not have been able to get to otherwise. No matter what level Agitation is at, the terror radius while carrying a survivor will always be 12 meters bigger. His second perk is Brutal Strength, likely referencing his father because the icon reminds me a lot of when Archie kicked the miner in the gut. Brutal Strength allows a killer to kick objects in the game quicker, whether it be a generator, a pallet a survivor has dropped, or a breakable wall looming in your way on the map. At level 3 for this perk, you kick 20% faster. Here's what you look like kicking without Brutal Strength, and here's what you look like kicking with Brutal Strength. His third perk is Unnerving Presence, likely recalling the looming presence he and his father had on the miners at the Macmillan estate. This perk hinders survivors in your terror radius, making them get skill checks more often, and making the zone for a skill check smaller. For context, a skill check will appear at random when a survivor is doing a task. If they succeed in the check, they will continue to do the task. If they fail the skill check, they will immediately lose 10% progress on whatever task they're working on, and it will be paused for 3 seconds so they cannot work on it. It will also give a loud noise notification so that you can see it at anywhere on the map. At level 3, it decreases the success zone by 60%. At all levels, it increases the odds of receiving a skill check by 10%. One thing I did not mention in the last video, but will be important moving forward, is prestiging a character. Once a player has leveled any given killer to level 50 through blood webbing, they can prestige them. This allows their 3 unique perks to be used on any other killer in the game. For example, even though agitation is exclusive to the Trapper, once he's been prestiged, you could use it on a killer like the Legion. With that out of the way, I'd like to introduce our next segment. Yes, me explaining all this information about kits and numbers, while I'm sure it is informative, it is not practical. After introducing a character's lore and their kit, I will be passing the torch over to some of the best players of each killer. That way they can give you the ins and outs of the killer, and allow you to see what said killer can do when played at their best. I would like to thank Puffalope and give credit to his Learning from the Best series as inspiration for this part of the video. If you would like to see these amazing killer players teach someone else how to play them, I highly recommend heading to Puff's channel and checking those videos out. I will put a link in the description for you. Another great resource is the Killer Banes podcast by Fake Bennett, in which a lot of the killers in the series have been interviewed by him. And lastly, Horserer has been doing a series called Stars of the Fog, where every episode he picks apart the minds of killer players to see how each one ticks. When you finish this video, please check out one of their playlists in the description below. I personally can only offer you so much. These folks can give you a lot more than I ever could. Anyways, I'm very excited to introduce our Trapper Master, QuietKills.
Hi there, QuietKills here, the P100 Trapper main. If you don't play DBD, those words mean nothing to you. It just sounds like a bunch of jibber jabber. Basically, all that means is I don't go outside, I don't touch grass, and I hate sunlight, and I don't bathe. Anyways, so let's go over this very basic, very accessible build we have here. All these perks are completely free, and 3 of these perks come with Trapper. So, agitation. What does this do? Basically, when you pick somebody up and you're transporting them to a hook, you move them faster, 18% faster. Brutal strength. What does this do? Basically, you break things faster. You break things 20% faster. Generators, pallets, doors, everything, you break it 20% faster. Great. That's fantastic. Really keeps you in the action. Unnerving presence. Now, what does this do? Basically, whenever they're within your tear radius, whether they're in your area, when a little skill check pops up when they're on a generator, they're more likely to blow it up or something. Like, it's just harder to trigger the skill check. Anyways, next perk, Enduring. Whenever you get stunned, it reduces your stun time by like 50% or something. And yeah, so very basic stuff. This is not rocket science. I mean, it's very simple stuff, really. Now let's go over Bloody Coil. What does this add-on do? And what add-ons do for each killer is it like alters your ability a little bit. Now, what is Trapper's ability? Traps, obviously. His name is Trapper. Bloody Coil. Every single time a survivor disarms one of your traps, they will be left injured. Now, how does this impact the game? When a survivor disarms a trap, it gives you a notification. So when you go to that area, they're more likely to be already injured, needing only 1 hit left to get them down. Absolutely disgusting add-on here. It's one of his best. Then we have the Honing Stone. Now, what does this do? When they free themselves from the trap, they're going to be left down instead of injured. Usually, it only injures them, so you still need to catch up with them and hit them again to finally down them. But with this, if they free themselves, they'll be left down. Very spicy add-on here. Very spicy indeed. Some survivors know what it does, so they just won't free themselves. They'll wait for somebody else to free them, but many don't. So if they step into a trap across the map and they free themselves, they're going to just be left down, and you basically just one-shotted somebody with Trapper across the map. Absolutely lovely add-on. One of my favorites. So, yep, this here's the build. This perk comes with Billy, a free killer. This is Billy right here. And then these 3 perks right here come with Trapper. Excellent perks. 2 of these perks right here and right here are some of Trapper's best perks. So, yeah, you can make a whole lot happen, and I'm going to show you what they look like in action. Let's get right into it, baby. It is trapping time. Go ahead and slap this here. Usually when I spawn in, I just slap a trap down for funsies. It's not mandatory or anything. It's just my little tradition. Makes me feel nice, warm, and fuzzy inside. Go ahead and slap this here. Nice. Beautiful, beautiful. We trap the inside of that window because they're most likely to rotate from that side of the map into it, so they won't see the trap on this side. They're just more likely to take that window. It's more enticing because they don't see a whole entire bear trap just sitting there waiting for their ankles. So we've got some traps right here. We got another one we can collect right here. Perfect. Notification over there. Interesting. So we know precisely where they are. It's a pretty good gen setup for me to hold down. I don't really have any reason to leave this area. Hi there, Sable. Sprint burst fake. She wanted me to swing. She was saving up that sprint burst. She's going to go ahead and take that. Let's go ahead and break these doors open. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Nice. Let's go ahead and trap this up. I think I hear somebody above my head. No, I don't. I'm tripping balls again. Goddamn, I got to lay off the fence. Cool. Nice. Alright, so we've got some traps set. We got a generator down. That is perfectly fine. They can pollute the environment as efficiently as they wish. I don't give a shit. Go ahead and slap this here. Nice, nice, nice. Once again, they're less likely to see it if they're rotating from main and they're running over there. See, they don't see a trap there on that side, so they're more likely to take that window. Let's go ahead and give this a little kickarooski. Nice. Had my thick ass, oh boy, my thick oily ass right over here. She disarmed that, so therefore she is injured because of the bloody coil add-on. She cannot take that window or that door. She is simply dead. Give me that. Nice, another generator's down. I don't give a shit, doesn't matter. I don't care. We've got basement, perfect for me. Let's go ahead and use agitation, the trapper perk that makes us transport their dying, decomposing bodies quicker. Help us get her in the basement with this perk here. Nice, super speedy, super speedy. Nice. How this? She gave up wiggling. She wasn't even wiggling at the end. Hope is lost. Oh God, hope is lost. So what we're about to do now is called Basement Trapper. We are about to become the Basement Trapper. There is no way in that is safe. They could try to vault this, but they'll step into a trap. They can't take the doors, and if they disarm any of these traps, guess what? They'll be injured. And it'll just be a trade. We're at 2 generators, and that's perfectly fine. I don't care. Doesn't matter. I really just don't care. They can do all the generators they want. Doesn't matter. We're gonna wait for them to go for the save, and hopefully get another person in the basement. Let's see. Let's find out, shall we? Give me that. She's gonna rotate back into the map. Nice, nice, nice. I should have let her. Maybe let her think that this basement was gonna be safe. I don't think they know yet that I have bloody coil. They possibly do. They did see Sable get injured, so we can't really bank on them being oblivious to that fact. Let's go ahead and catch up with her thick ass. Nice. Boom. Boom. Boop. Ah, I'm in your head, dog. I am in your head. Nice. Now they're going for the save. Good timing, good timing. They waited for me to cross the map. Both of them are over there. Oh, this is lovely. This is beautiful. This is gorgeous. I love this. Right here's a work of art, baby. Let me catch up and make something happen. Oh boy, let me catch up. Hi there, how's it going, bud? Let's go ahead and snap this in half. Nice. Let's actually go ahead and start rotating off. We don't want to really commit to this. She's gonna go loop to loop, pallet to pallet, pre-drop all the pallets. Look, she already dropped that pallet. There's literally no point in chasing that. She's just gonna drop pallet to pallet to pallet. There's no purpose. Let's go ahead and rotate her back towards Shaq if we can. They got the other girl up across the map. I don't give a shit. We want Sable. She's already on her second hook. I might as well. We have a trap right here. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and slap her. Nice. Nice little M1. We've got main trapped up. She can only make so much happen here. She's gonna try to play this pallet or drop it for distance. Doesn't, dies. Ah, big mistake. Big mistake. Somebody was behind me healing. She takes that. I don't even need to worry about her. She's in that trap. Nice. We can go ahead and get on Lobber. Let's go ahead and use this Bloodlust to carry through. She has life. Speed boost upon vaulting that window, but that's fine. Go ahead and do this. Boop. Cool. Nice. Lovely, lovely. Oh, yes, yes, this is good. Everything is coming together. She knows what my purple add-on does, so she's not freeing herself from that trap because she knows she'll just be left down. Hold this. Ah! Nice! Come on, give it to me. Oh, God, give it to me. Hold this, I'm better. God damn, Buckaroo, you love to see it. We could actually just go ahead and get stunned by this because we have enduring. It doesn't even matter. Just walk through it. Oh, pre-drops it. Nice. Love to see it. Catch up with her thick ass, and that there is the end of it. Boop. Goes for the pickup. Doesn't. Dies. Ah. I am simply better, and that there is a checkmate. And they quit. God damn. It's QuietKills, baby. The rank 1. Top 1%. Undefeated. Undisputed. Best trapper in the business, baby. Love to frickin' see it. Give me that. Nice! Hold this. Nice, yeah, let's put her stupidity on full display. I want the whole world to see it. I want everybody to witness it, yes. Oh, that's good! Yes. Oh, God, yes! Sing for me, Nia, sing for me. Oh, God, that sweet tune, that sweet symphony of yours. Son of a bitch! Alright, she has anti-camp. The bot freed themselves from the hook. The game is not yet over. Hold up, I gotta lock in focus. No, this is totally, I accounted for this. Every calculation has been calculated. Every possible measure, every possible conceivable scenario has been totally accounted for, I swear. Give me that, I'm better. Boom. God damn, plucked you out that window like a berry out of berry bush. Love to see it. If I can make it happen once, I can make it happen twice. Oh, God. If I can make it happen twice, I can make it happen thrice. Oh, God. I play mean. Don't expect me to play nice. I haven't showered in days. I likely have lice. Oh boy. This is good. This is good. Break that down. And let's hook everybody up and get them up out of here. Love to see it. Where are you at, my boy? What? Okay. No, I'll take it. Okay, so we've got Bruce freaking Wayne, huh? We got Batman? Cool, sweet. No, that's fine. Let's go ahead and put her on the hill hook and get everybody out of here. So nice. That was smooth. Honestly, that was smooth. We didn't even really need to do the basement trapper thing. We just kind of slowly chipped away at their souls as the match progressed. Just slowly but surely chipping away at their souls. Chipping away at their will to survive. Let me lay down my edges. Nice. Good shit. G freaking G's. How this? Nice. What the? Laura's up. Wait, what the hell? Laura got herself off hook and she recovered her. Hold this. Dead body. You haven't had enough of the bloodshed, huh? Oh god, no, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. The opportunity to just kill you again. I'll take it. That's good. Oh, I love that. Weak. Your body is weak. I break you every time. Oh god, I break you every time. Not always does pressure create diamonds. There are times that pressure creates dust. Shit! Kate is up! How many of these goddamn bastards? How many lives? What is this plot armor, dog? What do you mean? I see her in the distance. Like a heat-seeking missile, my target is located. I'm locked in. Like a shark, I smell blood in the water. Oh god, I smell blood. This hill can't save you. You die every time. I love it when you paint my screen red, Kate. Let me tell you, I love it. Oh god, this is good. Give me that. Rank 1, top 1%, undefeated, undisputed. His name is QuietKills. And he is the best trapper in the business, baby. Love to say it, GG's. Cool freaking beans. That there was a fun time. I had a whole lot of fun. That there was an absolute blast, if I do say so myself. Nice. And oh my god! Jeez! Okay, so a whole lot of P100s here. Oh my god. Wow, yeah, that's wow, okay, so you can't say, oh, you only won because these were baby survivors and they didn't bring anything. They had no idea what they were doing. Dog, we're all P100. Like, we all have a lot of hours in this game. I think we can say that much. Yeah, they brought good stuff. I brought a completely free build, easy to access, accessible build here we're having, yes, indeed, we are indeed having. Yeah, nice. Yeah, GG's. And if you're looking for a very strong Trapper build, this is something that I will prefer. So Trapper is a very strong late game, end game killer. So with no ed, you basically become an end game demon. You'll one-shot everybody, you'll be super fast, they can't run away, and you'll just one-shot everybody until they cleanse your Hex Totem. Then we have Blood Favor. Now what does this do? Every single time a survivor is injured, all the pallets in the area will be blocked for a pretty significant amount of time. We're thinking 15 seconds. That's gorgeous. Here's a catch. It activates after they disarm your traps with Bloody Coil. Oh god, the synergy between these two is absolutely exquisite. Then we have Brutal Strength. Now why is this so good? It helps you break pallets faster, you stay in the action, and the less pallets they have to work with, the more dead zones you can create, which means there's no pallets in the area, so they have less and less to work with, and your traps just become stronger and stronger as the match goes on. And then you have Deadlock, which just helps the match just take a little longer, you know what I mean? The gens just take a bit longer. 25 seconds every single time they pop a generator. That's 25 seconds. The generator with the next most progress, they have to wait before they can start doing it again. absolutely amazing freaking perk for almost any killer right here. So yeah, this is the type of build I would bring if I really want to kill everybody. I mean, I bring something like this, and then you can top it off with a Putrid Oak, which just makes hooks spawn quicker, so you're less downtime transporting bodies to hooks. You can get right back into the action and get rid of those pallets as quickly as possible, so your traps can just get stronger and stronger. So yeah, I'd recommend something like this, and there's many options. He has a lot of really good perks, but yeah, this is a build that I highly favor.
A big thank you to QuietKills for joining us in this video, teaching us the ropes to Trapper in some extremely fun and very chaotic gameplay. I am thrilled to have gotten the chance to work with him because I've been watching him for some time, and if you enjoyed his gameplay, please be sure to check him out on Twitch or subscribe to him on YouTube. Both of these can be found in the description. And with that, you now know every bit of the basics of Trapper, his lore, his kit, and also how to play him. I hope that this served as a good gateway for you to this character. Now, take to QuietKills to further your learning from one of the masters, or go watch Puffalope get taught by one of these masters, or Horserer Stars from the Fog to further your understanding of them, or Killer Burnett's Killer Podcast to also further your understanding. There are so many great resources out there to continue your learning and become a master of a killer yourself. In the next video, we will be dissecting and understanding what makes the Wraith tick, understanding his lore, and how he works. I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.